our main conversation today on the future of our country is with the GCON of the Ige family, Sir Muyiwa Ige, a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, who is also the Knight of the St. Christopher. He was, about 14 years ago, the Commissioner for Lands and Physical Planning and Urban Development in Osun State, and is a stakeholder in Osun and Nigerian politics. I'd like to welcome to Inside Sources for the first time, Mr. Sir Muyiwa Ige.
Greetings, my dear brother. It's good to hear from you and good to see you.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for coming. So we start with a conversation on the future of our country, and I normally ask my guests that if you look at where we are today, do you think that Nigeria as a nation, as a whole, that we are heading in the right direction that should take us to that great destiny that all of us know is actually where Nigeria should be heading for?
That's a good question. Well, my brother, Nigeria is almost 65 years old. If we all recall, we garnered independence in 1960, and there's been various attempts at independence and strutting our stuff to make sure that at least we can demonstrate capacity and take the black race to a high level. The question is, how high have we gone? I don't want to say how low have we gone, but how high have we gone? And in that trajectory, has there been starts and stops? The answer is yes. There's a teeming youth population that needs to be taken care of. The situation that we found ourselves now, it's quite unfortunate in the last 26 years. But I'm an eternal optimist. I trust and believe that tomorrow will be better, must be better. And we must all collectively strive to make this place better. Because again, with the huge population that we have, over 200 they say close to 240 million, it's a huge and glorious opportunity to demonstrate what can be done by the black man in this space. And so, yes, Nigerians are envied all over the place, but because when we leave our space, we excel. And so those of us that are actually here also, we must make sure that we create that El Dorado. Things are tough. Economy is slowly creeping out of the morass, and we pray that things will get better. But praying alone will not work. We must also be deliberate and intentional, individually and collectively, to make sure that things get better in this country. It's the only country we have, and we must do right by it.
Excellent. I agree with you entirely, Sir Muyiwa Ige, that we have to do everything that it takes to push this country in the direction that we know it ought to go. Now, which is why I'm going to ask you the next question, that if you look at what has happened in the last 2 years under the presidency of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, how will you assess our approach? Essentially, how do you measure what it is that the Tinubu presidency has done and has not done in the last 2 years?
Well, I trust and believe that the administration has done their own self-assessment. But for those of us on the streets and in the various neighborhoods and in various townships and various rural areas, the question is, how has it affected us individually and collectively? Things are a bit rough. Not even a bit rough. Things are quite rough. What I would want to say is that the administration took a bold step by saying they're removing subsidy. I think what was missing was the fact that shock absorber was not in place at the time of the pronouncement. And again, it was almost like shock therapy. And everything just went south. But there's a semblance of creeping out of it. Unfortunately, if you look at it from the parameters of foreign exchange, the foreign exchange now official rate is about 1,530 on the street, but nobody has access to it, maybe those in government. But on the street, it's about 1,600. Rewind less than 3 years ago, it was just about 360 to the dollar. And so the cost of living has skyrocketed. Cost of travel, transportation, everything has gone up. But there's a semblance of leveling, and maybe some food prices. A bag of rice is about 80,000 naira. Then it was about 7,000, 8,000 naira. So that's almost 10 times. And so there's need for government. We hear that there's a lot more money that's being pushed out to the subnationals at this time. So everyone must do the needful to try to get us at a level where we're not impoverished. The truth of the matter is it's hitting everybody's pocket. You have to pay salaries, you have to pay your workers. In my own basket, which is development, cost of development has gone up. Cost of cement has gone up. The cost of even paying artisans, the wages has gone up. And so folks are not making that kind of money to be able to pay. So there's need for re-engineering. And, those that have been saddled with the responsibility of driving the economy, they know that they have a huge responsibility and much is expected of them. So we will encourage them to do the needful because we're all in this together. And this ship must not sink.
I agree with you entirely. You know, the ship must certainly not sink, especially because we even have somebody who came out of the progressive family of Nigerian politics, the progressive tendency, you know, that both yourself and myself, and of course, Uncle Bola Ige, your dad, that was where they put us. So we do have a stake to make sure that this doesn't fail.
But by mentioning, obviously you mentioned my father now, yes. And basically, I think you're referring to the politics of the Second Republic. It was steeped in ideology. And I recall the 4 cardinal programs of the Unity Party of Nigeria at the time, which was free education at all levels, free health, integrated rural development, and full and gainful employment. And that was the mantra. And everyone knew that the marching order was, this is what we're going to do. It was basically a socialist bent, but everyone understood what the ideology was. I'll use an example of my father. On the first day, which was October 1, 1979, his pronouncement was that education would be free in Oyo at the time. Now, Oyo State at the time was both a combination of Osun as we know it today and Oyo as we know it today.
Right.
So it was much larger. And, you know, I was going through his archives and his document. The budget, he inherited a budget in 1979 from Paul Tafa, who was the administrator. But their budget in 1980, because they had a plan to implement those 4 cardinal programs, they had a robust plan at deployment. And by 1980, the budget for education was 26%. And health was 24%. Wow. So you can imagine 50% of the budget went into education and health.
Wow.
So can you imagine if that happens across the country? They built over 700 new schools today between 1979 and 83, both primary and secondary school. Not one additional school has been added to the system. Not one. And so again, the issue of, I trust that you're speaking about politics and politics of ideology, institutionalizing empowerment of the common man, making sure that processes are in place. Emancipation of the common man must be at the forefront, because it is only when the common man can sleep that you have anything can close your eyes.
Absolutely.
And so the environment must be made to be positive for growth. And it's It's a new day. Yes, you'll say 45 years ago was a long time. But again, the fundamentals are the same. I just mentioned to you now that the budget was 26 and 24%, collectively 50% of the budget. And by the year 1983, the budget of 1983, they had done extraordinary things. Even the calisthenics that they had, which was basically, it was almost like a big brother, big sister program in the schools, the Kekere Akins at the time.
Right.
It was a form of teaching young children about leadership, how to be a team player. And again, I'll use my father as an example. He wrote a letter to every child that was going into school for the new year.
I was going to say,
asking them to.
I was just going to say,
Yes.
and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Muyiwa. I was going to say that I actually started my secondary education in 1979 September.
So you're on Bola Ige then?
Yeah, in Loyola College. Now we were admitted. Loyola College Ibadan. We were admitted in September.
And the headmaster was Venerable Daramola?
Yes. So I got that letter in October after he actually was sworn in. I was going to say that. Please make a point.
I hope you kept it and showed it to your children.
Yes, it's somewhere in Deja right there. Please go ahead.
So again, essence of leadership, leaving a legacy. And my father had always said that a good education is the only thing you can bequeath your offspring or your child. Because again, once you have a good education, you will go far.
Very, very important point, because even on this show, Sir Muyiwa, I have made the point that many of our state governments today, they have basically abandoned human capital development, because we have state governments now that focus more and more on infrastructure, building roads and bridges. And we're not saying that that is not important, but
I would say that they concentrate more on the optics, and the fundamentals of human capital development have been jettisoned. Because again, look, you can go around. There are lots of abandoned classrooms. Some of them dating back to the Awolowo time. So now you say Awolowo time, Bola Ige time, and since Bola Ige, not one additional school has been built.
God, look at that.
Not one. And so if you look, even X-ray, maybe Oyo and Osun, I trust that the same is probably happening across the country. And so there must be deliberate action over and beyond paving roads. And obviously, awarding contracts is probably lucrative for those that want to have some form of gain. But the roads will wear. However, if you invest in young people, or for posterity's sake, we're talking about a deliberate policy initiative 46 years ago that was implemented, of which you were a beneficiary, and a host of others were beneficiaries. That was even secondary school.
Right.
Bursary was given to those in polytechnics and university.
True.
Bursaries there was 500 naira, which was actually a lot more than the school fees was at the time. And the formula was, within X amount of meters, you must go to the nearest primary school. Within about 1 kilometer, you must go and register at the nearest secondary school. And then for the higher institutions, you can walk 3 to 5 kilometers. And that was the model. And it worked. Yes, you can say that they liberalized education, but hey, those that benefited from it are alive today and doing brilliant things across the world.
I mean, thank you so much. While we're at it, I want us to, talk a little bit more about Uncle Bola Ige. And I know that recently, Professor Wole Soyinka, actually renewed the call, on the federal government, to investigate, the circumstances of his of his death. And the reason why I bring that up is that I wanted you to talk to us more about, what his vision was for Nigeria. I remember very well, very close to him, by the way, being a journalist in Ibadan. There's no way, that you wouldn't be close to Uncle Bola Ige. Spend a lot of time in his office, at places where he attends the poem reading and all kinds of stuff. You can always find a place where you're going to meet him. And he influenced us a lot. Our idea about progressive politics was essentially due to what we learned from Chief Obafemi Awolowo, and in my own case, because I grew up in Ibadan, Oyo State, from Uncle Bola Ige. So I wanted you to talk about a bit about him, his vision for Nigeria, because I knew also that somebody like him ought to have run for president. As a matter of fact, he was a candidate in the Alliance for Democracy. And of course, we know the story of all of that.
Until the zero bands abracadabra.
Exactly. So can you just give us a bit of recollection of some of the things he shared with you, about how Nigeria ought to progress, and which has not happened since that time?
Wow. Do we have enough time for this? Okay, anyway, I'll just try to... Now, you mentioned something that you knew him and you met him.
Yes. Very well.
And you knew the type of person he was. Not only was he a polyglot, he was well-rounded. And again, he didn't just start from nowhere. He schooled himself. He read a lot. He spoke lots of languages, Latin, Greek, obviously Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, including Fulfude.
Wow.
And he was an extraordinary being. Now, yes, even he grew up in the north, and I'm not sure if you've seen the play Kaduna Boy. He wrote his own story, but I actually staged the play, and we've always put it up at anniversaries. There's an anniversary coming up in September when it'll be his 95th posthumous, and hopefully we'll put together the play again. But he grew up in Kaduna. He was born in Esauke. Of all his siblings, he was the only one that was born in Esauke. But because his father was a railroad worker, they were Awomoju line. So They were always going around with their father. And so he had that opportunity to live in Zaria and then in Kaduna. He grew up in Kaduna, went to St. Joseph's School. Now, when it was now time for him to go into secondary school, they now reminded him that he was not from the north, that he needed to go south. And he didn't know anything about southern Nigeria at the time. So he said, no, I'm from Kaduna. He said, no. Anyway, fast forward, he came back south and went to Ibadan Grammar School. By the time he finished, he was a head boy, and then became a major scholar in classics at the University College Ibadan, which is now University of Ibadan. And by virtue of that, he obviously was a major scholar in classics and got married, befriended his childhood sweetheart, my mom, Honorable Justice Atinuke Ege, who was the first female lawyer in Ibadan land, who was called to bar in 1959. So it was by virtue of my mom being a lawyer that he went to study law.
Wow.
And most people don't know this story. And then in the 50s, he used to write in the West African Pilot and the Southern Defender, the newspaper. Now, if you know him, I will ask you this question. Did you know his pen name at the time, his pseudonym?
Well, I can't remember. I probably missed that part.
I'll tell you. Only 3 people knew that name. It was my godfather, Wale Soyinka, Uncle Femi Johnson, and obviously my father.
Oh, wow.
His pen name at the time was Leonard Bigger, Leo Bigger.
Wow.
And so when you write articles, Leo Bigger would write, and they'll say, go and arrest Leo Bigger. He'll be standing next to the person saying it. Again,
interesting.
Intelligent.
Yeah.
Till today, now everybody knows, but again, but that's how they operated. And then he now went to the Middle Belt. He defended G.S. Tucker.
Yes, I remember that. That's true.
Benue people today, if you mention Bola Ige, whether it's Boko or Chopo, everybody knows the impact that Bola Ige made. He got thousands of Middle Belters that were detained, got them released. He was lawyer to J.S. Tucker, and the children are friends. As a matter of fact, one of the daughters at Tinuke was named after my mom.
Oh, wow.
And my brother Chris works with the Secretary to the Government of the Federation today. So again, they had friends from all over. And then over and beyond, everybody talks about him being a politician. He was also a brilliant lawyer. And he defended a lot of chieftaincy matters pro bono. So at the time when the matter of who should be governor in Oyo State came up, it was the Obas that said, Bola Ige Lafel, So he had paid his dues.
Yeah.
And obviously, December 31, 1983 came when over and beyond his having been restricted and being detained in the 60s, etc. And then 1983, when there was a coup, and they were detained for over 3 years, which was very, very harrowing. But we thank God. And thereafter, there was all the old guard politicians were banned, and the new breed came in after in the mid 80s into the 90s, and then we had the June 12 election. But they were the barricades. Yes, they were banned from playing politics. That was the period of Sidon Luke, and Sidon Luke was actually passive activism.
Yes.
Yes, they were off, but they were on. They had their tentacles on the ground, teleguiding what the people should do, and then by 1998, the May 1 prisoner of war situation when Usman, I think it was Usman then,
yes,
who was the administrator, arrested them. In addition to Papa Oni and Lamadation at the time. My father was taken to the worst prison in the whole of Nigeria, in Makurdi. Well, we later found out where he was because nobody knew where he was for 63 days.
Wow.
And so, but we thank God. Thereafter, he wanted to be president of this country. He had a plan because he felt that with all their generation needed to do right by this country by making sure that they were steeped in ideology. They had demonstrated capacity from governance in the Second Republic, that with this, when Abdul Salam said he was leaving, that, okay, there was an opportunity to reshape Nigeria. Unfortunately, his colleagues decided to checkmate him because they felt that they couldn't control him. And then the afternoon of the long knives, or the extended daggers. But thereafter, he joined government of Obasanjo, and then he was assassinated on the 23rd of December 2001, and which was really a precursor to Black Christmas.
Yeah.
But Bola Ige did his very best. Unfortunately, he didn't want to die.
Of course.
But we thank God for a glorious legacy.
Absolutely.
And so you had mentioned about the posthumous award, the national award that he was given.
Yes.
Honestly, if I had my druthers, and sorry.
Yes, I said for the June 12 and all of that. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, which was okay to honor those that in remembrance of the struggle, the struggle period. If I had my druthers, really, I would have thought that it would have been GCON that he would have been given. And the reason I have expressed that, all his activities, and the fact that he also was assassinated while in service.
Yeah.
But Commander of the Federal Republic is what he was given. I issued a statement within an hour of the award to thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for even remembering our father, and then with the caveat that the killers are still walking, so that yes, we're bringing the memory to the front burner. That we should also force the issue and bring it back to the fore and make those that did it uncomfortable, and plead with the government to relook at the case, as well as other unsolved murders over the years, over the last 2-3 decades.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thank.
Please go ahead.
No, I said I thank my godfather for even bringing it to the fore, because again, when Wole Soyinka speaks, the world listens.
Absolutely.
And if you remember at the commendation service, he made that pronouncement: the killers of Bola Ige are in our midst.
Yeah,
and they were.
They were. Wow. And we also support that call by Professor Wole Soyinka, your godfather, that, now that we have President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, one of the people that came out of that progressive movement, it's important to go back to that assassination, like several other, assassinations that happened, and unearth what it is that happened, just so, we can have a closure, and consequences ought to be meted out for such acts of injustices. Final question.
Yes. No. Before that, I'll be remiss if I didn't mention this. That
yes.
Heartfelt thanks to I will call him an Omo Bola Ige, but no buts, an Omo Bola Ige, the present Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi SAN, for bringing the issue of Bola Ige to the fore. It may not be known to everybody, but he actually started the initiative of honoring Bola Ige. And so I thank him. He's an Omo Bola Ige anyway, but I thank him very much.
Excellent. I can echo that. Prince Lateef Fagbemi. We all grew up in Ibadan. Of course, much older in years than both myself and you. But certainly, yes, it's true. He was also very close to Uncle Bola Ige.
Oh yes.
Last question. You are a stakeholder in Nigeria's politics. How do you read the formation of this new coalition of opposition politicians? What's your take on that?
It's quite interesting what's going on now. And the truth of the matter is the president is consolidating the party APC. Those that are not in government are also looking for ways of strutting their stuff. And so it's going to be an interesting period. As far as I'm concerned, really, I would say, on a personal note, I'm not in Sidon Luke, but I'm cautiously watching what's going on. The truth of the matter is, I know that in a place like Osun, where you have an Omishore in APC, obviously you'll not find me in the same space. So I'd rather just be an IGE. You know what IGE is?
Yeah, that's your last name.
Exactly. And that at the right time and the right place, with an association based on ideology that looks to emancipate the common man, then we'll add value. So we need to pray for those in government now, that God will lead them aright to do the right thing. Because again, they need our prayers.
Absolutely.
For those also looking to oppose those in government, God should also lead them aright, that it will not be based on self-aggrandizement. Because at the end of the day, if it's not for what is right, it will fizzle out.
It will fizzle out.
It will fizzle out. So if it's ideologically based, if it's for the emancipation of the common man will prevail. and life will be much better for all of us. It must be better. It must be better because we're all in this space, and it must work for us.
It must work. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sir Muyiwa Ige, for your time. Thank you for the work that you do, in the built environment space, even as a stakeholder in Osun State and Nigeria's politics. Thank you for your voice, and thank you for what you represent, and thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
And again, with regards to the built environment, my colleagues in the built environment, I urge all of us to do right, because again, especially with the architects, the architect is the master builder, the leader of the design team. It is what we design when it gets built that everybody gets excited about and everybody else plugs in. And so each professional should do right. That's by virtue of that, we will not have collapsed buildings. We will not have building failures. The environment will be conducive. Then we need to begin to interrogate new materials so we can buy down the cost of development. There's no cheap house anymore. So the issue of affordable housing is becoming unaffordable. And so we must look at new technology, research and development of new technologies, new mechanisms, new ideas in making sure that we build right. And if we all do that and do the needful, our environment will be the better for it. And I take pride in being a member of the Nigerian Institute of Architects. I also take pride in being a registered architect by the Architects Registration Council. And so architects will take the lead and others will follow.
Excellent. Thank you for those comments, are very important, to make that point. And I appreciate you for it. Once again, thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you. It's good to see you. And I like your Larry King look.
Thank you so much, my brother.
With the bow tie and the suspenders. Brilliant.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you.